Earlier this month, Cyberlink introduced the September update to Power Director, and one of the new features in that update was a relocated and revised layout icon, which dictated how the main editing window, the library window, and the preview window were spaced out relative to one another. Welcome back to Power Director Made Simple, where we are going to take a good look at that change. But first, let's start out by looking at the previous version of Power Director with the old layout icon. Now here's a quick lesson about the layout icon itself, both for this older version and for the new version. When I click on it, 3 possible modes currently show up in this older version. In each mode, there is one area that is a light gray with the play button icon on it, which represents the area in which the preview window would show up if that mode were to be selected. The default layout mode is or was called the landscape mode, which is meant for 16:9 aspect ratio imagery. On my timeline, I have several video clips, and we'll start out with the first one, which is a black and white photo of the side of the building with 2 ladies on the sidewalk. With the clip selected, there are 8 resizing control gadgets shown around the perimeter of the image. Most importantly, there are no black bars around the image, which means this photo has a true aspect ratio of 16:9 and completely fills the screen. And just to cover all bases, I'll click on the second clip on the timeline, which is a video clip and not just a photograph. As you can see, it completely fills out the viewing area because when I right-click on the clip and select Properties, it indicates that it was shot at a resolution of 1280 by 720, which is a 16:9 aspect ratio. Thus, there are no black bars around the sides or top of that video. I'll click the third image on the timeline, and I'm going to move the playhead to that position. Here you are looking at what appears to be a portrait mode image, probably taken with a cell phone. Now notice the black bars on the sides are now excessive. This is where the layout mode icon comes in handy. I'll click that layout icon, and then I'm going to select portrait mode. But that didn't seem to help much, and the reason is that the project's aspect ratio is currently set to 16:9, and therefore Power Director assumes that I want everything to display and render out in a 16:9 ratio. Now down in the lower right, I'll click on 16:9, and I'll change it to 9:16. Now it is looking a little better, but there are black bars at the top and bottom. The reason for this is, once again, this is a photo that is not in the true portrait aspect ratio of 9:16, but in some other strange ratio, most likely because it was edited and cropped. I could click on Edit and the Zoom In feature using the scale slider until it fills the screen, but then I would be losing some details along the left and right side. I'm going to click on the fourth image on the timeline and move the playhead there. Now this is the same photo that was resized in Adobe Photoshop without any loss of detail on the sides. However, this resizing process effectively just stretches the image taller to cover up the black areas. Now, sometimes you can get away with it, especially on pictures of landscapes, but to do the same stretching on pictures of people can result in some undesirable results. Also notice that in this portrait mode, it cuts into the available space of the timeline, which could make your editing experience somewhat less enjoyable. Now, this is where the third layout mode was supposed to help. I'm going to click on the layout icon once again, and I'm going to select floating. Now what this mode did was to merely undock the preview window from the main editing window, which is something I could have done all along without the use of the layout icon. As a floating window, I can move it around anywhere I want it to be. Or I can even change the size of the window. Actually, I can undock either the library or the preview or the timeline window by right-clicking into any one of them. Now, by undocking the preview window in the 9 to 16 mode, you at least gain back some of the lost space used by the timeline along the far right side. And you can move the preview window around at will or even onto a second monitor, such as I'm going to do right now. Now, it's over there on my second monitor, but the screen capture can't see it. But don't worry, it's there and I can see it. I'm going to move it back, and if I click the redock button, I'm right back into full portrait mode. Okay, that covers the way the layout icon used to be. Now, let's switch over to the new version and see what has changed. I'm going to wave the little magic wand, and just like that, we have jumped into the future. You are looking at the latest version of PowerDirector 365. You'll note that the first change is the location of the layout icon, which is now in the upper right corner. When I click on it, there are 4 different modes available to users. What used to be called the landscape mode is now called the default mode, and it's the same old mode as before, just as you've probably been using for the past 100 years. There are no changes in how things appear here. If I click on the layout icon again, the second mode is called the library editing mode. I don't know why anyone would ever use this mode, because all it does is give priority over available screen space to viewing the thumbnails in the library window. Maybe they want to see the most of the thumbnails, such as titles, especially if they select small icons. The major downside is that there is not much room left over for the actual editing on the timeline. I'm going to click once again on the layout icon in the third mode, Portrait, which is nearly identical to the old layout choice. I'm going to select the 4th image on my timeline and move the playhead there. I'll also change the project's aspect ratio from 16 to 9 to 9 to 16, just like before. Now, I don't see any real changes here, as it looks identical to the layout provided by the old icon. So I'm going to click on the layout icon once again and then select the new choice that was added with this update, namely the layout choice of dual monitor. There are 2 main things that happen with this choice. The first is that the preview window is undocked and floated over to a second monitor if one is present. If there is no dual monitor present, then the preview window is merely floated on top of the existing windows. Now, so far, there is no magic here, as this was always available even under the old icon by merely right-clicking on the window and selecting Undock. But there is a second major change to this layout, and that is the existing library and timeline now share the screen space in a vertical fashion rather than a horizontal fashion. Now, why would that be important? Some users tend to have projects that utilize multiple video and audio tracks, such as perhaps 10 tracks or more. Now, with the timeline window now using the maximum vertical space available, all of those multiple tracks are much easier to see without the need for the incessant scrolling up and down to see the right track. Now, I'm going to get even really weird in that I'm going to undock the library window by right-clicking on a blank area and selecting to undock. I'm then going to move the now floating library window over to a second monitor. And just like that, I have the timeline window all by itself. I'm going to click on the timeline icon to add tracks. And then I'm going to enter 5 additional video and audio tracks above track 3. And then I'm going to click OK. Wow, 8 audio and video tracks that can all be seen at the same time. For those that may not know, I keep my track numbering inverted, making track 1 at the bottom, so that it might look slightly different than what you are used to seeing. Now, all I need is a super large monitor to display all of those multiple audio and video tracks. I've got my eye on this one. And then all I have to do is save up about $6,400 and purchase one of those Samsung 98-inch monitors, and I'll be set for life. Well, that shows the differences with this update to the layout icon. All fairly the same, except that they made it obvious to move a window to a second monitor, and they made it easy to put the timeline in a vertical sharing mode with the library. So I hope this has been helpful. If you have any comments or questions, leave them below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when new posts are uploaded. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Don't know much about history, don't know much biology, don't know much about science books, don't know much about the French answer, but I do know that I love you, and I know that if you love me too, what a wonderful world this would be. Don't know much about geography, trigonometry, don't know much about algebra, don't know what a side rule is for, but I know that 1 and 1 is 2, and if this one could be with you, what a wonderful world this would be. Now, I don't claim to be an A student, but I'm trying to be. Maybe by being an A student, baby, history, don't know much biology,